Hello everyone. Have you heard about the new ethical fashion craze that's sweeping the world today? I'm talking, of course, about Wayuu bags. These beautiful bags, made by skilled indigenous artisans of Colombia, are sold in their thousands, if not their hundred thousands, across the globe every day. But very few know about their rich cultural heritage or about the ethical pitfalls involved in buying one. So if you would like to know more about these beautiful bags and their rich cultural history, and if you would like to ensure that the bag that you buy is from an ethical supplier, this video is for you. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Paul McAleer and I have worked with the Wayuu community for over 12 years. I've researched their culture and also worked on educational projects with the community. So I thought it would be helpful if I made a video on the cultural heritage of Wayuu bags, because I know that people who buy these bags are interested in the culture and the history behind them. I also know that they're very much concerned in making the right ethical choices when buying these bags. So if you are concerned about that, stick around to the end of the video, because you'll find out that a lot of UK suppliers and global suppliers do not follow the recommendations of fair trade agreements. So we're going to talk about the Wayuu bags and their rich cultural heritage. We need to talk a little bit about the Wayuu first. So the Wayuu are an indigenous community of Colombia. Their ancestral lands are to be found in the northeastern state of La Guajira, which looks onto the Caribbean Sea and borders with Venezuela. And in fact, the ancestral lands spill over into the state of Zulia of Venezuela, and for this reason, the great majority of Wayuu have dual citizenship. Here on this map, you can see the state of La Guajira, where the great majority of the Wayuu live. So the Wayuu are an interesting indigenous community because they've been able to hold on to many cultural practices and traditions that predate the arrival of Westerners in Latin America. That's the Spanish Empire. So, for example, they continue to speak their native language, Wayuu. About 75% of them today are bilingual in Spanish and Wayuu. They also continue to practice traditions like the Yona, their sacred dance, and the second burial, in which they disinter the bones of a loved one and then rebury them in a special place in their ancestral lands, with the hope that the soul of their loved one will return to them in the blessed form of life-giving rain. And among these important traditions that the Wayuu see as central to their cultural identity is the art of weaving and the making of Wayuu bags. The Wayuu have woven bags and hammocks and other cultural artifacts since before living memory. For this reason, they are famous around the world for their weaving skills, and today the money they earn from selling their bags and other products stands as their primary income. But the Wayuu bags are not solely monetary. They are also archives of knowledge. In other words, they carry secret messages, and these messages are the geometric patterns that are woven into the bags by the Wayuu artisans. In Wayuu, these patterns are known as cannas, and each cannas has its own name and its own meaning. So here we have one of my mochilas. This mochila was gifted to me by a very close Wayuu friend about 7 or 6 years ago, so they're pretty sturdy bags, as you can see. And this particular bag sports the cannas Io'ua. You can see the cannas here, it's the geometrical design, and Io'ua means the star that predicts or foretells the rainy season. So you have here the diagonal lines that represent the rain, the horizontal lines that represent the earth, and you can't quite see it on this one, but there is usually a star hit on this cannas. Now, rain is very important for the Wayuu. They live in a semi-desert-like environment. So if the rains don't come, or if they're very light, their crops wither, their livestock die, and sometimes, unfortunately, members of their community die. Now, for this reason, their traditional, most important god
is called Huya, which is the same name for rain in Wayuu Nike. And the rainy season is called Huyapa, the time and place of Huya, the god of rain. So this particular canasta is wrapped up in the symbolic value of Huya the god and Huya rain in Wayuu culture. But it also has a more practical cosmological function, because what it does is it passes down the knowledge with each generation that when a certain star appears in the sky in a certain place, that the Wayuu should sow their crops, breed their animals, so that they have the best chance to survive the coming dry season. So our second mochila features the canas Molonkuntuaya, right? So this particular canas means the tortoise's shell, and you can see that the canas mirrors the plates of a tortoise's shell, but the tortoise also has a high symbolic value in Wayuu culture. It plays a role in certain rites and beliefs. So, for example, it plays a role in the rites of passage, or a ritual concerned with the rites of passage of a young Wayuu. The elder members of the clan will wash the girl's hair with water from a tortoise's shell, with the hope that this will impart to her longevity and, more importantly, fertility. It also has a spiritual function, so it's believed that the tortoise acts as a guide. It guides the deceased Wayuu to the land of the dead, Hepira, where they reside for a certain time before coming back as blessed rain. So this particular canas is informed by all of those functions, all of those symbolic values that the tortoise has in Wayuu culture.
So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the cultural heritage of a Wayuu bag, and I hope that if you're thinking of buying a Wayuu bag or already bought one, that it will help you appreciate that bag just a little bit more. And if nothing else, it will give you a great conversational piece when you wear your Wayuu bag to a party or other occasion, because believe me, when you wear a Wayuu bag, your friends, people will ask you questions about it. As promised at the start of this video, I'm now going to talk about the ethical pitfalls of buying a Wayuu bag, because I think people who buy these types of products, who love these artisanal goods, really want to be sure that, one, their purchase is underpinned by some kind of fair trade rules and regulations, or at least values, and two, that their purchase supports the artisan and the Wayuu community who produces the bags that they buy. Unfortunately, in the UK and across the globe, this is not always the case. So basically, there are three types of suppliers in the UK and across the world. The first and the worst are those suppliers who sell inauthentic Wayuu bags. These bags are not made by the Wayuu, they are made in a factory somewhere in Indonesia or Thailand. Now, you can usually tell these types of bags because, one, they have very basic patterns. Two, they have the cross stitching is of very low quality, and three, you are buying the bag for a very cheap price. So anything under £30, unless it's second-hand, of course, you are probably buying an inauthentic Wayuu bag, something that's made, mass-produced in a factory somewhere in Indonesia. Normally, you would pay, in the UK at least, between £60 and £80 for an authentic Wayuu bag. And the reason for this is that the bags take around 10 days to produce, sometimes more, depending on the pattern. And so you are paying for the time and the skill of the Wayuu artisan who has produced it. Okay, so the second type of supplier is the supplier who sells authentic Wayuu bags. And you will get these bags between £60 and £80, depending on the costs involved in supplying them. But there is a problem here, because the great majority of suppliers in the UK and across the world do not buy their bags directly from the Wayuu or Wayuu artisans. They usually buy their bags from a middleman. And this middleman often takes advantage of the Wayuu artisan. They pay them very little. They then put on a huge profit for themselves when they sell them to your seller. And then your seller adds their own percentage of profit to that price. So when you buy a bag from these sellers, very little of your money is going to the Wayuu artisan or the Wayuu community who produced your bag. So the third type of supplier is that supplier who has a direct relationship with the Wayuu and the Wayuu artisans. And normally this type of supplier will have a fair trade agreement or a fair trade style agreement with their Wayuu colleagues and suppliers. Now, it is often a little bit tricky to differentiate between these more ethical types of suppliers and the second type that I've just talked about, ones that use a middleman. Because on the websites of many online shops today in the UK, they claim that they are supporting the Wayuu weaving traditions, and they have lovely pictures backing up that claim. But nevertheless, if they do not have a fair trade agreement published on their online shop somewhere, then I would be very suspicious about that kind of ethical propaganda. So that's what you can do. You can go onto an online shop. It'll only take you about 5 minutes. Look in the section about us. And if you cannot find a fair trade agreement, a link to a fair trade agreement with signed, which is signed by the Wayuu suppliers and the seller of the Wayuu bags, then I would not buy the bags from that website. For this reason, as someone who has worked with the Wayuu community for over 10 years, I would recommend the online shop Akwaika Artisans. This supplier has a fair trade agreement published on their webpage, and I know that they work directly with the Wayuu community and Wayuu artisans. So if we just take a quick look at the website of the online shop Akwaika Artisans, you can see that they have here a title, Our Suppliers. You click on that, and there you can see that they have their fair trade agreements posted on their webpage, which means that they do directly deal with the Wayuu and they do pay the Wayuu a fair price for their bags. Now, the other great thing about this particular seller of Wayuu bags is that not only do they support the weaving tradition through fair trade values, they also dedicate some of their income to support projects, educational projects for the Wayuu. So they've supported my project that I do with the Wayuu, in which we work with Wayuu school children, Wayuu writers, and Wayuu teachers. And we give the Wayuu secondary school students the opportunity to learn more about their Wayuu traditions, the Wayuu cultural practices. So this knowledge is not lost in the next generation. And we also give them a chance to talk about these traditions in Wayuu Naiki. So it's all about supporting the survival of Wayuu Naiki, their language as well. So if you're going to buy a bag, buying a bag from this seller will make your money do a lot of good for the Wayuu community. So thank you for watching the video. I really hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit about Wayuu culture, Wayuu bags, and how to ethically purchase them. If you are interested in these two subjects and in ethical consumerism in general, please visit us again soon, because I will be posting some videos in the future. But meanwhile, I just say goodbye, and please subscribe if you like what you saw today, and I hope you have a really great day. Thank you very much. Goodbye.